You're listening to Ages and Stages, where womanhood gets real across every decade. 3 women, 3 life stages, 1 honest conversation. Each episode, we break down one topic, from relationships to career to motherhood and identity and how it evolves across the decades. If you've ever wondered whether you're the only one figuring things out, you're not. This is Ages and Stages.
Welcome back to Ages and Stages, where we talk about the honest truth, real life, real struggles, and everything in between. And we're your hosts. I'm Wendy.
I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Emma.
And we're so glad that you're here joining us for another episode of Ages and Stages. Well, today's conversation is one that I think everyone can relate to: creativity and passion. Somewhere along the way, many of us stop making time for the things that make us feel alive, makes us feel better. Maybe life just got too busy, or maybe some responsibilities took over. Maybe we convinced ourselves we weren't talented enough. But creativity isn't just about painting or writing a book. It's anything that gives you energy, lets you express yourself, and reminds you who you are outside of those wonderful responsibilities. Today, we're talking about how creativity changes through the decades, what gets in the way, what we've lost, and perhaps even rediscovered, and what advice we'd give to our younger selves. So grab coffee, grab a glass of wine, take a walk, listen to us when you're mowing your grass or driving in your car. This is your time to settle in for a conversation about finding your spark again.
Yeah, so I think one thing we could start off with is talk about kind of what we are making time creatively for right now. What are you guys into right now? What's your creative juices telling you to do? What are you interested in?
Mine right now is pretty much my little hobby farm. It consumes every ounce of my time that isn't work or tea. So hard to find time for extracurriculars, but that's the one we work on.
Wendy, how about you? What are you creatively working on right now? What interests you at the moment?
Well, actually, for me, creativity has become more about creating things that matter. I think I've mentioned this before in past content. Okay, let me just start that one over. For me, creativity has actually become more about creating things that matter. And I referenced that in previous podcasts too. And currently, I have new endeavors, and I have endeavors that I've been consistently a part of and worked on. But the newer ones, writing a book and continuing to write books. I really would like to, now that I have my first one published, I'd really like to do more of that. Developing this podcast with you lovely ladies. Building retreats, because I'm all about, like helping people to live their best life and inspiring people in that way. And really kind of dreaming about future projects, my future life, like what are some of the things that I'm really interested in doing that I either haven't done yet, or maybe going back to some things that I did when I was younger. And then I just, like Lindsey was saying, my time got consumed by certain things, and those things went to the wayside. But I personally don't think that creativity is something that actually ever leaves us. It just changes form.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking about how the fact that a lot of the things when I was younger that I thought were like uninteresting or boring, or for older people, like crocheting or gardening, things like that I was like, oh, I'll never be into that. But all of a sudden I'm like, I would love my own garden, and I would love to just sit and like crochet a blanket or a hat or something. Like that sounds so cool. So it's so interesting how like some things shift over time, like what you thought was like uncool or something you just never do. And then one day you just pick it up, you're like, oh, this is actually kind of this is actually kind of nice. I guess for me, besides that right now, I like to draw and color. It's kind of just a relaxing thing for me, and I get to just have a little creativity that way. Yeah, this podcast is huge. For me, this is a whole avenue of something I would normally never ever do. Thinking of topics and sharing with you guys and things like that is really awesome. And I think it's hard to put yourself first in times to give yourself space to have creativity, especially when you feel so overloaded with life. And if you're a parent, parenting duties and work and whatever else is going on, sometimes it's hard to make time for yourself to be creative or um, create something new or try something new. But it's just so important, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, one thing
absolutely.
to that is that she's at the really fun age where I get to like include her in the creativity now. So I'm like having her go out and garden with me in the garden, and she's going to be learning about the animals we have on the farm. So that's super fun, finding creative ways to add that into your responsibility.
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm just curious if you can talk a little bit more about how did you get into, because I'm curious, how did you get into this idea of like a sustainable hobby farm for yourself? Where did that come from?
So I kind of got into it just started with my passion for animals. And I always wanted all different kinds of animals, not just house pets. So I needed land for that. And then once I got the land for that, my parents always had like a vegetable garden. So I wanted to implement that. And the more I started learning about those things, the more like social media algorithms started showing me, how to like catch and process rainwater and telling me about solar panels and bigger and better gardens in my own greenhouse. And I'm like, this is all far more efficient. And, then my energy bills would go down. I've got a well on the property, so I don't have a water bill anymore. So it's just a lot more efficient. And I just really enjoy being outside. So those are things that I can do outside.
One thing I really got into was baking, which is really unexpected for me because I'm a terrible cook. I'm a horrible cook. I always have been, probably always will be. But when I was pregnant and on maternity leave, I just got really like cabin fevery. And it was too cold to go outside at the time. So I just kind of looked up how to make like a loaf of bread, and I did it, and I was like, oh my God, like a whole like can of worms opened up for me. I was like, you can do so many things with like just things you already have in your kitchen cupboards and your fridge. So I've made all sorts of different things that I just never thought I could ever do. Like I thought it was for like professional bakers or people that are so experienced or grew up baking or whatever. But it's really not. Like there's so many things you could do. Um, I don't know, it's kind of cool. So now I could just, if I'm hungry for something and I don't feel like shopping, or if I would just feel like I just want something homemade, like I can do it myself. I don't have to go to a farmer's market if I don't want to, or somewhere special. I can just do it myself. And I think there's something special, like making something from scratch, or like Lindsay, how you're saying, like it's so much more efficient to like just have your own garden and have your own vegetables. I love being able to make something like that's mine, like that from scratch. Like I know where it's come from. I know what's going in my body, especially for my family. Like it's definitely a hobby that I love that I got into, and it wasn't even like on purpose. It just something I wanted to try, and I didn't think it'd work out, and it just did.
That's
I don't
I
know. Good.
definitely drank the Kool-Aid on the whole, homesteading thing with that too, because I've started
Hmm.
my bread, my own butter, my own house cleaning, all-purpose cleaners, and yep, I went down the rabbit hole and I stayed there. So,
Yep.
but it was
It's a good rabbit hole to go down. Yeah. Yeah. I just recently transferred all of my plastic cups to like glass jars, like all our pasta jars and pickle jars. We just save them, and I've just been slowly throwing out our plastic stuff. And it's so much easier. Like you just throw it in the dishwasher, and I don't know, it just feels so much cleaner. I don't know, maybe it's I don't know, like a social media thing, but I really like them, and Steven really likes them, and we'll have to see how it goes with my toddler dealing with glass, but baby steps. Baby
yeah,
steps.
I might wait a little bit on it.
Yeah, might have to stick with plastic for a little bit longer with that one, but
But, yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's really interesting because I sometimes, we just fall into something of that either because we're bored or because of something that's going on in our lives. Or maybe, Lindsay, it's because you have a beginning interest and you just want to see where it goes from there. And I believe that it's so important for people to take that time, women in particular, to take that time. not, I guess, just women. I mean, it's important for men too. Like invest in yourself and just kind of come up with an idea. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's not going to work, but it's that whole process of just trying to find some of the things that is going to be bring joy into your life more than anything else. Interest, joy, creativity. Um,
And I think having the confidence to start too, like the confidence to like try something that you might not be good at or you might not
mm,
like, or because you just never know. Like you never know if the thing you try might be like your favorite thing ever, or it's something that you just stick with for a lifetime. So it's just, saying like that, even if it doesn't work out, saying like that's okay. Like it's not a big deal. Like
mhm,
it's not the end of the world if I'm not good at crocheting or sewing like my grandma was or whatever. It's not life or death, but just finding something that you like to that fulfills you in a way and makes you feel good about yourself and gives you time is just so good. It's so important,
mhm.
especially when you have a busy life and when life gets a little crazy, just to sit with yourself and just do something for yourself. But it's hard to
Yeah.
have the confidence, especially if it seems like something that could be complicated or you just have never thought of, or just it looks like you just feel like it's too hard to even try. I don't know. I've been there.
I'm still there. Like I
Yeah.
really love repurposed furniture. I can't do it to save my behind, but I have met people. I have taken a look at individuals who are just creatively talented in that way. And they've been able to take, old furniture and resurface it, repurpose it, and turn it into something modern and beautiful. I wish I could do that, but I just I just can't. And that's okay. I'm just so appreciative of the people who can, because then I can buy from them. you know. Sometimes that's a part of that process. Like you just
Mhm.
have to you're like it's just not in your wheelhouse, and that's okay, that it's not in your wheelhouse, and
Mhm.
finding avenues and ventures, like, and ways of being able to bring that stuff if you really like it. When I was younger, creativity looked a lot different. It wasn't about productivity as much as it was about having fun. That was my way of finding or tapping into the creative self. And I was like you, Emma, that I have always loved to cook and bake and do those different kinds of things. And so I found myself, and I still do. I still love to get in the kitchen. It's just a little bit harder because it's just Todd and I now. So I mean, it's hard to go from one person to two people to a whole family, and then reverting backward to two people, and then sometimes when he's out of town, it's back to just me. So somewhere along the line, though, creativity, for me anyway, it started needing to kind of have some kind of purpose or some kind of an outcome. I really kind of came into that when my mother passed away 3 years ago, and we were cleaning up the basement, and I could see all of the different trends that my mom got into. And so when my mom would do something, she just didn't go small. She would go, like all the way into a creative space. So scrapbooking, or, um, like uh, card making. She was into rocks and gems and different kinds of things. Later on, my mom didn't do anything just halfway. She did it all the way. And as I was going through all of her stuff, I was like, maybe I should do that. I should find myself a hobby. And so, funny story about that is that because I was back for an extended period of time when my mom passed, just to be around family and to be there to support my dad, I went to Hobby Lobby, and my whole goal was going to Hobby Lobby was to find myself a hobby. And I walked around the whole store. I mean, I was there for probably about an hour and a half, just like really taking in the moment, because I was like, do I like this? Do I like this? Do I like this? I was there for an hour and a half and didn't put one thing in my cart. And then I was about ready to walk out, and I was like, no, I cannot do this. Wendy, you cannot do this. you were here with a goal and a mission. You were to find yourself a hobby. And so I turned my cart around and I went back through the store for another hour and I settled on soap. Now, it's been okay. It's like a slow to the roll, but I'm not going to be some of those. I don't envision myself as being a soap making connoisseur, but I've made some pretty good soap. Pretty impressed, like with some of that. I don't know how sustainable it is, but if Angie were here, we thought we would get into winemaking. That was a colossal failure. We got a wine kit and everything and managed to, like screw that up. I don't know how we did it, but that was like the grossest, worst tasting wine I've ever had in my life. So that was kind of like a one try hobby. And then we're just like, yeah, no, we'll just go to wineries or we'll go to the local liquor store and we'll buy our wine because it's too hard to make it. Anyway, those are just a couple of fun stories.
That is awesome. It made me think about some things that I would like to try. And one of them is like stained glass. I would love to put together like a stained glass window. I think that'd be so cool. It'd be so, I feel like it's so difficult. Again, the confidence thing. I feel like it'd be so hard to do, but I'm in love with the look of them. I would love like an older house filled with stained glass. I just think it's so pretty. And I would love to make candles. I've seen it all over TikTok and Instagram. I'd love to make my own candles, my own candle scents, because I just feel like I spend so much money every time I go to the store on like a different kind of candle, and it'd be so cool to just make my own. I don't know, that'd be so cool to get into.
Yeah.
How about you, Lindsay? Anything like that you're interested in?
I'm too far down the rabbit hole. Candles are bad for you. Burn candles.
I've heard that too.
No, but my problem is I jumped the gun too much. Like we got the land and with the barn and stuff, and I was like, let's get some goats. And then we can milk the goats, and with the goat's milk, we can make soaps and lotions and all that. I'm still working on the
cheese.
But I'm still working on the farm at this point. I'm like, I need to slow my roll.
We love the ambition, though.
Like I was like, all right, I'm build a garden.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna like jar my own pasta sauce and start canning. And it's like, still working on the garden. I gotta slow down.
I think that it's so true that sometimes, like we can find ourselves, like spending too much time in a hobby and then we lose interest in that. So I think that there's a fine balance, or we want to have it all happen. And yet sometimes it takes time, like to make it all work out and just kind of fall into place. Maybe it's a little bit of impatience. Does anybody ever struggle with that, being impatient?
All day, every day.
Yeah. If I want something, I want it right now. I want it to work out. And if it doesn't work out, I just leave it for months and months until I see it again. It's like we break up for a while. Like I can't go back to it. Yeah. We take a break from a hobby if it gets a colossal failure. I'm too embarrassed with myself.
I am the least patient person I have ever. So all my patience goes to babies and animals, and after that, there's none left for anyone else.
Yeah.
Yup. Feel that. Like picking up things where we left off, like something maybe you might have enjoyed when you were young. Like for me, I loved coloring when I was little. It sounds so silly because it's like, why would you color as an adult? But I was a preschool teacher for a few years right out of college, and I would color with the kids. And after a while, I was kind of like, man, I kind of forgot how much I love to do this. Like it's so relaxing. You can just make up your own colors and blend and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I'll ever be like a master artist or a painter or anything like that, but just the simple act of just coloring something cool is, I don't know, I just love it. I don't know. So I've gotten like these fancy pens and like my own coloring books and like the whole thing. They're all like adult labeled, so I feel less like a 5-year-old when I do it. But yeah, so it's funny how sometimes you like pick something back up years later and you forget how much you love it too.
Yeah, I had that with my first job. I got really, really into creative dog grooming. I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but
not really, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
Using clippers and shears to put shapes into dogs' coats and like different dyes and things like that. Okay. And you can make them
Cool.
look really cool, and like making dogs look like skeletons and cheetahs, and they get very, very intense sometimes. And I was super, super into that. And then I kind of burned myself out on it too. And now, 16 years in, I'm like, nobody's got time for that. Nobody's got time to do all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the obstacles. If you're just like, there's no time, or like if it's really expensive, you don't want to wait. Like you're like, oh, I could spend my money on a bazillion other things. Why would I invest all this money into something that I don't know if I'll like or if I'll be good at, or like you're just like simply just after a while you're just like, I don't got time. Like I have so much other things to do. I don't know. I feel like I would do a lot more if I just had more time or money or
Mm.
less mom guilt. All the above,
All the above, yeah.
all the above.
Well, I think that that's a good segue to kind of talking about some of the barriers that we face, like when it comes to investing in ourselves, because it's all about passion and creativity. And that is the ultimate investment in ourselves. It's not just a hobby. It can go in a lot of different directions, but time, money, kids, what are some other barriers?
Everything you just said. Time,
Yeah, I feel
money,
like
kids.
That and much, much more.
yeah, those are the big ones. Yeah.
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 You nailed
Confidence.
it.
Yep.
I would say mostly just time, because,
Mm.
a lot of hobbies take time, but most people are also working full-time jobs and raising families and have to cook and clean and do all the things. When do you have
Hmm.
time for your hobby?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you also have to find time for like self-care and or working out or like meal planning if that's what you do. Like there's so much you have to like figure out how to do, feels like all the time.
Mm. Hey, what about the role of perfectionism? Do you think that that ever might be an interference?
Oh, that's yeah, 100%. I think that's why for me, like when a hobby I start does immediately go how I thought it would in my head, I drop it
Mm.
like a freaking hot rock. Like it's like out of my life. Like I'm like, if I can't nail this, like I thought I could in my head, it's done. Like we're done. I don't know. I wish I was less of a perfectionist in that way. I wish I just kind of let myself like learn and ebb and flow, but I'm so much of a perfectionist. I just want it to go right the first time. And that's just rarely ever the case. So it's hard to get into something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I'm more of I'm okay if it fails, the first couple times, but mine's getting started.
I think that maybe perfectionism can play a role and can get, it can create some barriers and some interferences. I see that sometimes in myself, like it's easy to really give up on something if it's less than perfect. Of course, like I just gave the example of your mom and I trying to make some wine from a freaking, like wine package, and we screwed that up. So we gave that up right away. So maybe I fell into my own perfectionism spiral and I didn't even recognize it. Oh boy. I might need to sit back and talk to myself a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, resilience is something I need to work on too. I need to be able to just fail a few times and not, and try again. Try again.
See, I'm good with failing
Oh,
a couple times. My problem is that I won't get started. I'll just look at something and be like, I'm not going to be any good at that. No,
yep.
no,
That's
I'm
huge
not going
too.
to do that.
Yep.
And I could very well be wrong, because again, back to dog grooming, that's what I told my first manager when she was like, "Do you want me to send you to grooming school?" I was like, "Absolutely not. Nobody should ever let me near their dog with a pair of clippers." And then
And
she
here you are.
she ended up forcing me to go, and it turns out had a pretty natural talent for it, but I was so against it for so long. I was like, that should not happen.
Hmm.
What about do you think that people can fall into the barrier of feeling selfish because they're spending time putting themselves first? I think my my opinion is that women have a really hard time putting themselves first. Not all women, but a lot of women do. And sometimes men, sometimes they have a hard time putting themselves first because it feels so selfish.
Yeah, I even like the other night I was doing something. Like I think I was making something or it was something that was like creative. It wasn't like housework or wasn't anything like that. And my son started just crying and throwing a fit and it was kind of bedtime and um Steven was sitting there and it took like everything in me to just like tell myself like he's got it. Like I don't have to rush in every single time something goes wrong. I'm not always needed on the front lines. Like I can be in the back a little bit. But it's hard when your first instinct is to just like help or be there or do this, do this, do this. It's hard to turn that off and just chill. Like it's hard to, tell yourself you're not it's not life or death every time, something pops up. Like you don't have to be the savior of everything all the time. So I had to really like talk myself down, like he's got it, like he's fine, like my son's fine, like I can continue what I'm doing. I don't have to drop everything that I'm doing because I'm enjoying myself. I was really enjoying whatever I was doing. I think I was coloring or something, but I was like in the zone. I was really just relaxed and but I kind of felt guilty. Like I kind of felt in the moment, I felt kind of guilty. I was like, man, I, maybe I'm not doing a good job as a mom. Like just for a split second, I was like, what if I'm not doing a good job as a mom and I'm um, doing my own thing and, he's really crying. I should really do something. And it turned out fine. But in the moment, I don't know. For me, I'm really hard on myself and it doesn't seem like the big of a deal, but you just get so amped up about it. Like it's hard to make that space. And when you feel like what you're doing is not like important. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that's me.
I feel big guilt when anytime Tara is like asking for me and Ryan's like, Mommy's busy. Sure, mommy's doing something right now. I always just have the first instinct is to, Mommy's not busy. Like, it's fine. I can stop what I'm doing.
So Wendy, I'm gonna ask you, I know I know you said when you were younger, hobbies and creativity was more about productivity and less about having fun and enjoying yourself. But from your perspective, what do you think it would take to prioritize hobbies, and what advice would you give to your younger self or someone of younger generation? How do you set time for all those things? How do you feel okay with doing all those things and not being superhero all the time? What are some things you can do to prioritize yourself and your hobbies and your creative juice?
Ooh, wow, that's pretty loaded. First and foremost, I want to say that I am so impressed with just the human capacity to do a lot of things. Like and I'm sure that there's men out there. I'm not a guy, so I can't really speak, like for men in particular. I have all, like I'm speaking from my vantage point, but I take a look at uh like just the different parts of my life and all of the different roles and responsibilities that I had and the things that I was interested in and like the focus on building a career and being a good and present mom and a good and present wife, like and just spending time with friends and doing things that I enjoy and being creative. Like I honestly think that women can do some incredible things. Like we can put a lot on our plate and we can do things very well. However, I think that the common denominator and something that we sometimes forget is finding that balance, like just that balance of quiet time, the just downtime, because, or the fact that you said it just a little while ago, Emma, like with the example with Steven and a crying baby, like like you're just so quick to just being that first person to respond. And it's really hard to defer to another person. And over the different times in my life, I've really learned the value and the importance of being able to, one, give myself some kudos and recognize, like that I can do a lot of different things as well as many people. But two, like it's really important, and it was really important for me to be okay with deferring responsibility or giving myself permission to go, hang out with girlfriends for a weekend or whatever it is. It's a lot easier now that I don't have kids. My rule has completely changed. I don't have to say, "Hey Todd, do you mind if I, go down to Owatonna and visit the kids for a couple hours? Do you mind if I go out and have lunch with a friend? You know, and you take care of the kids because we don't have any kids anymore." So sometimes I think that, like the aging process and just kind of going through the different stages, like you can find yourself, uh, you know, having more time. By default, it's really, as you get older, it's probably a little bit more about you, but it's, I my family is very important to me too. So it's always going to be important. My family is a very big priority, and having close relationships with all of my adult children and my grandchildren is something that's important. But even I was just talking to Stephen, as a matter of fact, yesterday about something. And, I would love to be able to be be available for all the different things that are happening in the lives of my children, my grandchildren, uh, whomever. But the fact of the matter is that I've learned that I have to be okay with making some decisions and choices. So would I love to have gone to lacrosse every weekend? I mean, I'm 2 hours away, or sometimes 3 hours away, depending on where they're at, one way for me. And so, even though I'd really love to do that, I've learned that I have to be okay with the fact that I'm not going to do that all the time. That maybe I might make one or two lacrosse games, or I might only be able to go down to Missouri to visit
I
Lindsey
was gonna say, you
and
mean you're not
Ryan.
gonna be here for all of T stuff?
Yeah,
What?
well, I'd love to. I'd love to. I'll be there in a mental space, like through wishing wishes and good wishes, like through the air and the universe and stuff. But like I've learned that I really have to be okay with being true to myself, being giving myself permission to work and then have a creative space, and not feel so guilty if I can't go to Missouri every weekend or once a month, or get down to Owatonna, or attend every one of those games of my grandsons. But I so value the time that I do, um, when I have those events that I can make and attend. I value that so much. I don't know if that answered that question or not. Did I answer that question, Emma?
Yeah, I think so. I think you talked in summary that, I mean, you have to figure out, where your values are, but you also have to make time to value yourself in your own time. Um, and, make time where you can, but keep time for yourself. I think that's kind of what I heard a little bit from you. And it doesn't mean that you don't love anyone less or care about anyone less. And you don't always have to be present all the time to make a difference. But, I think making time for yourself is just as important as making time for other people, if not more important. So yeah, no, I think that was a really good message. Yeah, it's hard to do right now. I'm definitely feeling the weight of trying to make time just as a mom. I mean, my kid's over a year, so it's gotten a little bit easier. Like those newborn years are a little bit tougher because you're just constantly at their beck and call, and you're a zombie for a while with no sleep. So creativity and imagination and building new things wasn't exactly on my to-do list, but now that he's a little bit more independent, and I just have more mental space, more room, I think, to try different things and get kind of back to myself and reevaluate what I want to do and my values and try new things and see what I like to do. Yeah, definitely getting better. I think, like you said, maybe as they get older and have more independence, it'll be a little bit easier to do those things, but I'm excited to see what comes next. And I like how you also said earlier that like you went around Hobby Lobby to try and find something. That just tells me that no matter how old you get, you can always find something new to like go after and try. Like there's no definitive answer. You have to do this, you have to be good at this. Like I feel like I always put myself in this box of yes, I can or no, I can't, or creative or non-creative, or artistic or non-artistic. And I feel like a lot of people do that. They put themselves in this box of who they are, and it makes me happy to hear that you can always find new things and always grow and always just see what you like, and that can just change. It doesn't have to be definitive or it doesn't have to be perfect. So I don't know. I really liked your answer. I got a lot out of it.
I was just thinking about how, I'm 35 and I just now discovered that I like kayaking and suddenly rocks.
Yeah, rocks are pretty cool. My son loves rocks. I got him all these cool toys, and I went to a garage sale this weekend, and I got him a bunch of new things. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna love these. And then the whole time he just gravitated towards the rock pile. So it's like, I don't know, it's fun to let kids be creative, and it's fun to kind of learn from them. And sometimes being creative and trying new things can just be as simple as picking up a rock. It
Well,
doesn't
Yep.
have to be big or glamorous, you
I
know?
just we just went on a float trip, and I made the joke when we got back because I asked for Ryan, he didn't get to go with us, and I was like, "Do you want to see my cool rocks?" And then I was like, "Yeah." I went from playing Louisville Chugger on all the sandbars to collecting cool rocks. So
That is an
I love
evolution.
it.
I love it too.
yeah. So yeah, you can definitely things definitely change, and you can definitely find new hobbies and interests. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. 'Cause for a long time, my only hobby was partying, and now that
Mm-hmm.
is very, very rare,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not mad about it.
Well, I have a thing. I decided to learn how to fly a plane.
Yeah, you did. Tell us
Yeah.
more about that. What made you go there?
Oh, well, like everything else that's in my life, there's always like a big, long backstory, like to everything that I do. So this particular backstory about my interest in learning how to fly a plane goes back to my college. And I again, sometimes you just get busy, and sometimes like you get sidebarred and different kinds of things like that. But when I was in college, I was a part of a sorority, and I was a little sister to a fraternity, and a lot of the fraternity guys where I was a little sister to, like they all talked about wanting to get their pilot's license and planes and this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that too. I want to do that. So I would be a part of those conversations. And, like my direction went and then my life, like evolved and went in another direction. Like I got married, I had kids, I was building a career. And actually, I kind of forgot about flying planes. But then Facebook comes into my world. I know. I mean, it's so old, but anyway, it came into my world at one time. And what I really appreciated about Facebook was that it allowed me to reconnect with people from my past, like high school and college and different kinds of things. And, everybody was always posting stuff on Facebook, and they still do. I think it's still a good venue. Maybe there's other better ones, but I am old, so I like Facebook. I don't have a problem with admitting that. But anyway, like I started befriending all of my old college friends, and I was just like, hey, they're flying here, they're flying there. And so COVID happens, and that's kind of how what my connection was, like everybody's posting different kinds of things and what they're doing to, like be engaging in activities that don't really involve other people. So there was lots of posts on, like them flying airplanes. And I'm like, I forgot about that. Like I was totally going to do that. So I go to the local small municipal airport, and because I saw a sign that says, um, learn how to fly. And, I started going to flying school and learning how to fly. But I do not want to put pressure on myself because I know I'm older, to say, like I have enough hours to test out. I'm just not quite confident, like in my independent flying capabilities. Do I have the basic skills? Yes, but I'm still a student pilot working on getting to be my private license, and then I'm going to go and fly around to all my girls. It will save time. It's going to happen.
my farm gets big enough, we'll put a landing strip there. I think you can just fly to the farm.
Yeah, well, there you go. I might have to learn how to do the helicopter thing, but I don't know. Those things are pretty intimidating. I gotta
No,
step number
we'll put a
one.
whole landing strip, not just a
Oh,
pad.
there you go. Okay, all right, fair.
Yeah.
Okay, cut down trees, find a grass landing. Actually, funny story is that, one of the things when I was doing this flying stuff is that I was like, well, what am I going to do when I can independently fly? I don't have a CFI. I don't have anybody to talk to. Well, I'm going to get my husband involved with this stuff. And so took Todd up, in the air with me and my CFI, and we kind of forgot that he was back in the back of the plane. I don't know how we did, but we forgot. But anyway, like, I'll never forget this. Todd was having the time of his life. He was like looking at the lakes and looking at birds flying, like he was just having a great time. And then my CFI is like, have you ever done a grass landing? And I was like, well, no, I haven't done that yet, because I have a couple of CFIs that I work with. And I'm like, nope, I haven't had any of that experience. Well, we have, like a grass landing right ahead. I think we should do that because you're going to need to know that for your test. And I'm like, cool. Forgot that Todd was in the back, and so did the CFI, and he couldn't hear us talking and dialoguing. And all of a sudden, he just started seeing us going closer to trees and the ground. And he kept on looking at the both of us. I mean, we were calm, cool, collected, whatever. And, like he was in the back, just probably about ready to shit his pants, pretty sure, and then, like we do this grass landing, it was perfect. And then we go back up in the air, and we land, and we're all, the plane is shut off, and we take off our stuff, and the CFI looks, I forgot that you were back there. He's like, you think? You think? And he's like, yeah, we probably should have told you that we were going to do a grass landing. And I haven't been able to get Todd up in the air since. So I got to work through that. That's kind of like some of my delays with my own, kind of landing, because I need a co-pilot. And now I've traumatized my co-pilot. So I guess it will have to be you, Emma, or you, Lindsey, or one of my grandkids. Somebody's going to have to fly with me. I don't think Stephen will fly with me.
Well, I have a fear of flying, so count me out. Sorry.
Hey, you went flying with me one time, you and Stephen.
I did. I also shit my pants in the backseat. I was in the same boat as Todd. I love you so much, but I don't know if I can do that all the time.
Yeah, that's a no for me. I cannot do flying. Heights, period.
Well, anyway, I have patience
However,
of mine. Yeah, I have patience of mine that hold me accountable. It's, because I do some work in the nursing homes, and a lot of them are pilots. So they're just like, hey, doc, where are you at with your flying? And it's like, well, I'm on the let's take my time plan. And then I tell them, like what I did to my poor husband. And then they're just like, yeah, you're going to have to like take it easy.
okay, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but I was thinking about this because I feel like there's a lot of people, older people, like older generations that like have done just like the craziest, like most dangerous, outlandish things ever. Like you go to a nursing home, you just hear all these crazy stories. And it makes me think like, man, my generation's kind of boring. Like I feel like we don't really do anything. And I was wondering, I was like, maybe is it because we see like on the news, like we're so connected, we see every single bad story that's ever out there about anything. So you look up flying and you see plane crashes, or you see driving a boat, and you see boat accidents or whatever. So I'm like, are we just not taking risks? Are we not doing those things because we just see everything? We always hear the worst of the worst all the time, and that never used to be the case. I don't know. So
it's 100% a part of it. I think my generation was actually kind of like the last one, because I was in between having internet and not having internet. So
yeah,
you see that a lot, that it's like, we used to do this, and this, and kids now would never. And it's like,
right.
I'm glad kids now would never, because it was stupid when I did it. But
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that there's still a lot of people that are pretty adventurous out there. And then there are some people that are a little bit more fearful. And there are some people that are in between. I still think that there's just a lot of a wide variety of where people are at.
Mm.
Like, but I love to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, very freeing experience. I mean, it's, there's some times in which I I do get nervous, like I remember the first time that I went up in the air, I heard an air pocket and a crosswind all at the same time. And I was like, you know, um, the hard part is that I've been doing it for quite a while and I still have, like I have a new set of CFIs. I really like my first one because I'd just be, I'm not trying to flirt with you or anything, but I feel better if I could just touch your knee. Like, and he'd be like, okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but there's something about just maybe it's that old mother response, like that, like where you put the arm up, like if you had to do a quick stop. Well, it makes no sense to do that. I did that the first time with them, like up in the air. And I thought, well, this is really stupid. What is this going to do? It's not going to do anything. So I just said, I got to do something. I got to do something with this hand. Can I just touch your knee for a minute? It's just like for 2 seconds. And then I'll come back over to my yoke, I'll be okay. And he'll be like, okay, you know. I
I
don't
mom
know.
armed Ryan and Vaughn, and it's like, if we were to wreck, they're just gonna break my arm off. My arm is not gonna do anything to stop them.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the just those really funny stories. But
Yeah.
anyway, if anybody wants to, like if you have an idea, like I guess in your 50s, like here's what I would say: just go and do it, right? Like for me, like it's a balance of time and responsibility and money. Like I have more money, but I also have adult children and different kinds of things, and I have a business that I'm running. So like I do have to kind of financially prepare and set aside some money if I'm going to be flying, because it is a pretty expensive endeavor. But I love, like the fact that, when we talk about creativity, this is another aspect of creativity in my mind's eye. It's not just about the hobbies. Like you can be creative in a workspace. You can be creative by um, trying something new. Like there's so many aspects in which creativity has an opportunity to show up in your life.
Definitely. I would say for all my peeps in their 20s listening, my advice would be give yourself time. Give yourself permission and time and the space to do something that you want to do. Something that maybe you enjoyed earlier in life that you're getting back into. Maybe it's something new. Maybe it's something you've always wanted to try. I don't know. But give yourself time. I know you're probably busy with ambitions, or maybe it's motherhood, or maybe it's school, maybe it's a new job or something, whatever it is. I know you feel like you just don't have time and it's not that important. I'm telling you, it is. Find something that you like, make space, and try not to feel guilty about it because you deserve it. You're a human being. And a lot of the times being creative and trying something new makes you feel a whole lot better. If you're stuck in a rut, or you're feeling stressed out or whatever. So that's my 2 cents as a 20 something year old.
I love it. I think that that's something that can actually apply to all the decades in one way or another,
Hmm.
actually. Mhm. Absolutely. Let's see. Is there anything that you started that caused you to stop doing what you love doing, or that really energized you in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, kind of a weird, I used to love photography.
Mm.
Like when I got my hands on the new, at the time, it was like 2014, 2016. So for me, I was in like late middle school, early high school. And the new iPhones were coming out, like the iPhone 4s and 5s and that kind of thing. So you had this camera and it was so good, and everyone was always taking pictures of whatever you saw. And I thought it was so cool. So I always took pictures of my surroundings. And I remember, like, I can look at them now. I'm like, those are actually kind of good. But I think you get so used to what you got sometimes, or,
Mm.
I do. You kind of take advantage of what you have. So now, I mean, I have a better phone with a better camera, but I'm just used to having it all the time. So it's not something that I just want to do because it's always around. So sometimes just remembering, like, man, I've got this cool thing that can take really good pictures. It can do all these things, like using technology for good. So I've been really thinking about getting back and just using what I have to just, you know, I don't know, get back into taking pictures of things that I think are cool, or editing, or capturing something awesome, and maybe beyond selfies or whatever, but just something interesting. I don't know. I used to be really into that and
Hey,
I kind of stopped.
yeah. I think you should take some pictures. We're going on a trip, and you should post them on Ages and Stages. There you go.
I agree. I agree. There you
Yeah,
go.
why not? I mean, like, why wait?
Right.
There's never a better time than today. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, and let's talk about creativity in your profession. There's a lot of different people that do a lot of different things. There's a lot of professions out there. So, Emma, what have you been doing recently that you've had to tap into your creative self?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I'm a person that likes structure, predictability, and consistency. Like, I would be the perfect, like, line factory worker. Like, if I could do the same thing all day, every day, no change, I would probably love it because it's easy, it's comfortable, you can get used to it. But now I'm in a position of I'm a marketing specialist, and that job specifically takes a lot of creative thinking, self-discipline, a different day every day, different people you talk to, different things to research. It's a whole can of worms that it's uncomfortable, but it's so good. So I've really had to tap into the side of me that, wants to try those new things and kind of reach out of my comfort zone, because it's so much easier to have a job where you're like, you're good at it and it's gonna be the same thing. But that's just not what I'm doing right now. And, I really want to be successful. So for me, it's all about just seeing what's out there, what's new, and how I can improve every day, and finding new things, and just, settling with the fact that it's not always going to be comfortable for me, especially talking to people. I'm not a person that enjoys small talk usually, or if you're not someone I know, if you're a stranger, I have a hard time making small talk other than the niceties. So it's not a position that I'm exactly used to. But I'm really excited to just throw myself out there and really give myself a chance to be good at something that I think I could be good at, but I'm not used to it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. How about you, Wendy? How can you be creative in your profession?
Well, as being a therapist, I uh, am of the position that I think that there's always something to learn and to grow and to try. And when you're working with people, not everybody is the same. And even if we have symptoms and conditions in which we can build on, at least fundamentally, like depression or anxiety, for example, like working with people is a creative space, you know, knowing, like the evidence-based practices and interventions, and then knowing the uniqueness of each individual and what they bring to the table and the story of their life. You know, I believe that being in the field of psychology is an incredibly creative space. That's also backed with science and research, but it's still a new and evolving profession. And I've seen that in the last 30 years of my career, not only just in criminal justice, but crossing over into the field of psychology. Like, it's advanced so much, but I don't think that we have it all quite figured out. The other thing that I just want to put out there, because the last podcast we were kind of talking about the book, and I published my first book, that was a really creative space. Like, talk about just questioning yourself. Do I have the talent and the skill? Do I have the um, ability to, like communicate in a truly authentic and inspiring way? That was quite the process. But Emma, you also were an instrumental part of helping to get that book published as well. I mean, neither you or I knew about it. There's the writing process, and then there's the secondary process, that neither one of us knew anything about.
Yeah, there was definitely some learning pains for sure, but I am so happy that we came out on the other side. I'm so happy that I was able to help you publish this book. If anyone wants to read it or wants to buy it, look on our website, agesandstagespod.com. It's in the buy the book section. Click on the link. It is such a good read. It's just a little something every day you can look at and read to just uplift yourself and just affirm yourself, and it's just a really good kickstart to the day. So I would recommend highly to buy it. I mean, Dr. Disher, Wendy did such a great job. Natural author. I can't speak highly enough. As someone who's read it probably 5 times, trying to edit it and publish it. It's a really, and proofread it and proofread it and proofread it. It's a really good read. So, but yeah, it's hard, because yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing. And in my mind, I was like, man, I like to read books. Like I could have published a book, and that was just not the case.
Yeah.
I learned every step of the way. I learned something new, and sometimes I fell on my face. But the important part was that you and I both got back up and figured it out, and now it's out, and it's just so something to be so proud of,
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
really great.
I'm appreciative of everybody that's been a part of that journey. But I think you just said something that's so important, because this happens for different people in different ways, like not to give up and not to give in, like not everything's going to go in accordance to maybe that, like I'm going to use the word perfect, that perfect plan. It doesn't always go that way. But if it feels like something didn't work out, or you were like you were challenged by something, like there's something to be said about just stepping back and reevaluating the situation and continuing to step forward. And I might add that, having a like somewhat of a positive mental attitude is something that's also really important too, because sometimes, like when things don't work out, it's so easy to feel defeated. And sometimes that feeling of defeat is just enough for you to just give up or give in. Lindsay, what are your thoughts?
I was just actually about to pipe in and say, I am just so proud of you two for that, because I can't imagine. I know before Emma's circumstances changed and moved and stuff, Wendy had talked to me about maybe helping her edit the book and stuff. And I was like, editing, yeah, but as far as like publishing and things like that, I wouldn't even know where to start. So that's just incredible that you did that, Emma. Very
Oh,
good
thank
job.
you. Thank
And
you. Oh my
obviously,
gosh.
writing a book is incredible. So I'm just really proud of you guys. It's so awesome.
Oh,
Well,
thank you
Lindsay,
so
I'm
much.
still looking for somebody to do an auditory. That's not going to be me.
Ah!
So
Even he thought that was funny. She's like, nobody wants to hear.
That was great. Perfect
I
timing.
love it. It's like, anyway, I mean, we still have our hangups, but even like with this podcast, I mean, it's not really, it wasn't in your either anybody's comfort zone. I mean, even me, I talk to people for a living, and it was a big stretch, talk about creativity and bridging you guys into this process. And I just love the fact that you're willing to take a risk, and the challenge for people is encouraging them to to also take a risk. Sometimes you do have to take a risk. Maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not going to work, but you know what? I think it's always worth the try.
It really is. And what's really cool is every time I come back home, I hear from friends and family and people that I haven't seen in years and years, I'll see them in the grocery store, the gas station, whatever, and they'll be like, I just really love your podcast. Like it's so cool. And I just kind of freeze up because I'm just in my mind, this is kind of our own little bubble, but I know we're sharing it
Mm.
with the world, but it's just like, oh my gosh, people are actually listening. Like you take the risk and you don't know what's going to happen, but it's so cool to know that people are actually tuning in and hearing what we have to say and maybe relating or maybe taking something away from it. So it's really cool to know that we're actually doing something. It turns from an idea to something that actually, you know, came through, and it's cool to be a part of.
Backtracking a little bit, back to the advice for, 20 something year olds would have been just try it. Like that would have been my advice. Just try it. Cause I am the type of person that won't try it. And, when you do, sometimes really great things happen. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does.
Hey, you're in your
Yeah.
30s and you're still trying something, Lindsey. So there you go.
All the time. I'm
Yeah.
trying stuff all the time. I'm actually more open to trying things now than I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for any of
That
you
gives
that
me
are,
hope. I love that.
yeah, for any of you guys that are in your 20s, just do it. Or 30s or 40s or 50s. Just do it. It's this is just so random, but it reminds me of your mom, Emma, because I'll just say something and she'll be like, let's do it. And Lindsey's more like, okay. And you're like, I'm down. And Holly's like, yep, yep, yep. I want, yeah. Holly's a yes person. And so but it's kind of funny how everybody just has their thing,
Everyone has their thing. Yeah. Yeah. It comes with exposure and time. I think a lot of the times, especially when you're younger, you tend to care a lot about what people think and how they perceive you. I know I sometimes do. So being vulnerable in that space, the fear of being embarrassed or seen or being center of attention or whatever it is can be intimidating, especially when you're younger. The common thread I hear from people older than me is like, when you get older, you stop caring what people think about you or just less, So it's
That's
like,
probably true.
it's something to look forward to because eventually, I hope it just doesn't matter as much and you can just take more risk and not care so much about, what everyone else thinks and how well what they're doing. And so, yeah, I don't
I
know.
come on
Just try
this
it is good advice.
I come on
No,
this
go ahead.
podcast every other Wednesday with not a lick of makeup. My hair's doing crazy stuff, and I'm still in my work clothes. And I would have never 15 years ago. So,
Love it.
Well, hey, I mean, our very first podcast that was actually produced, yeah, I had no makeup on. I was in, like sweats and Emma
Same.
was in her comfy clothes, and that was how we started the podcast. So I think that creates authenticity, and I hope that for the audience, I think it's about just being okay with yourself, right? Just being okay. And you're like, and if we can get through our own self-judgmental barriers, I mean, we will go a long way.
Oh yeah, I think once you realize that everyone is figuring it out and no one really cares that much, like that's one thing that's been like revolutionary in the past like 5 years for me or so. It's like you are your biggest self-critic. Like no one is looking at you and staring and thinking about all the 100 things that you think are wrong with yourself. Like no one cares that much. Like everyone is looking at themselves. Everyone is thinking about other things. The last thing people are doing is looking at you and nitpicking. Like that's just not what's going on. So that's been huge. Like no one cares that much about you. So you might as well just live it up, enjoy yourself, and not care so much. Sometimes it's hard, but I think that's the truth.
people need to keep that in mind, especially with how much the internet is used today, too. Like, even if somebody gets in the comments and is mean to you, you just have to remember that they're probably not thinking about that tomorrow. They're not out telling their friends, like, oh God, I watched this podcast and this girl was just so ugly. They were just
Right.
being in the moment, and it's just the internet, and you're never going to see that person in real life. So who cares? Let them think whatever they want to think.
But you know
Yep.
what?
Who
That kind
cares?
of
I love
brings
it.
yeah, I mean, that kind of brings a point because the people who are that opinionated of you, like, or that judgmental, like, why do we give them so much space in our life?
As always, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. We would love to hear from you. Feel free to go on our website, agesandstagespod.com. Leave us a comment or an email if you'd like us to talk about something or you have something you want us to share. Please let us know. We'd love to hear from you and talk about it. We hope to see you again in a few weeks for our next podcast. Until then, we will see you soon.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Ages and Stages. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend who might need it too. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube for more behind-the-scenes moment and updates between episodes. Wherever you are in life, your stage matters, and we're so glad you're here. We'll see you next time.